We have been actively applying this convention in Brazil. I give you an example. We have used it to support the creation of our public television system, established very recently, and to be independent from the markets and from government. There is no doubt that a truly public TV will foster diversity in the Brazilian media in general. In the UN system, we have been defending the importance of a cultural approach in all negotiations of global governance. In WIPO, the intellectual property agents in the UN system, we have been supporting a balanced policy for intellectual property, a policy capable of protecting authors from producers and investors, greed, and we know that how greedy they are, but at the same time, this policy capable of the same time granting universal access to knowledge to all citizens and promoted by almost all constitutions, as promoted by all constitutions of the world. Basically all constitutions in the world, established, preach, that citizens, knowledge, access to knowledge be promoted. We have many, in Brazilian constitution, for instance, we have many articles guaranteeing, that access to knowledge by the whole ensemble of the society. The development of capitalism has created extraordinary inequalities and established an extremely difficult situation for the developing countries. Brazil is the last country of the Americas in the international balance of payments of authors' rights. We export a lot of copyrights, author rights, and we don't have the equivalence in terms of income. This does not express our prestige in music, in soccer, or in fashion. An example, we sell our soccer players when they are 18, sometimes earlier than that, to buy them later in cable TV programs for which we pay much more than what we have sold them for. Bossa Nova has influenced jazz all over the world, and we have never seen the result of that in our economy. This is why Brazil successfully proposed in WIPO the development agenda that has become an important place for discussing and shifting these issues that have never been openly discussed. The 21st century technologies represent a huge challenge to regulations. The revolution generated by the convergence of digital technologies obliges us to reinvent the way we do almost everything. I believe that today, anybody with public responsibility should look into the digital distribution of intellectual property as the most direct and powerful way to democratize knowledge in the history of mankind. But instead, we see almost every formal institution insisting on calling this digital distribution new possibilities piracy. We should rather be looking at new business models and into a burst of freshness in the political regulatory analysis. Of course, there are things that we have to look at in a perspective of control, Of course, there are abuses, and we have to position ourselves against the abuses, and we have to fight that. But that obligation of having this attempt, that attention to the problem would not lead us to a reactionary position, you know, that as we see in many situations now, as I have put. We should rather be looking at the new business models and into a burst of freshness in political regulatory analysis. I want to quote my friend Lawrence Lessig, a great contemporaneous thinker and activist in California, all over the world. He's been traveling everywhere. He's been doing a wonderful, incredible job. In his book, Code 2.0, he points out the necessity of a new form of regulation to guarantee the new forms of freedom and human connectivity. Lessig defends the necessity of the presence of the state to guarantee that the Internet survives into maturity with its radical social innovation potential fully in place. For that, he points out that we have to discuss a new political understanding of governance. That if we want to guarantee the collective and emancipating existence of cyberspace, we need to come up with a brand new regulatory framework of thoughts. Otherwise, these libertarian possibilities created by digital technologies will be amputated. I have been following the Internet Governance Forum, created by the World Summit for the Information Society. We met Mark in one of those meetings in Tunis a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And we fear that we might be working towards a final result that's very far from Lessig's proposal. This Internet Governance Forum, you know, meeting after meeting, after meeting, after meeting, insisting on the same old issues, not really going for solutions, you know, for harmonical collective position as far as the countries, the developing countries especially. And so we are far from the result that is very, you know, much the proposal of Lawrence Lessig. Cyberspace is a transnational territory. We might need to move from a multi-stakeholder instance to a transnational instance to resolve Internet's governance problems. How far are we from the possibility of such idea? This is a question that we have to put to ourselves. In this context, in the Internet Government Forum in Rio, Brazil and Italy have proposed the creation of a Bill of Rights of the Internet, independent from the EU process, because it's what we believe can create an awareness on what should regulators base their discussions. We now have a lot of people and some governments supporting the bill. We started Brazil and Italy. We are spreading the message, and we are getting the response. It is to defend the libertarian scope of the digital technologies that I insist in the irreplaceable role